I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses. It would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the 30-30. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, peeps? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. Got another short one for you guys before we get there. As always, if you haven't done so, hit that subscribe button. Sure would appreciate it. If you have any suggestions for anything you'd like to see covered in the future, or if you would like to be a guest on an upcoming episode of Paranormal Odyssey and share your encounter, I'd love to talk to you about that. Shoot me an email to wayne@paranormalworldproductions.com. I'd love to hear from you guys about any and everything, so please do that. I want to invite everyone to head over to paranormalworldproductions.com, our website. Brian's done an awesome job building that site over there, and if you guys haven't checked it out, please go do so. There's a cool feature there that I haven't pushed at all, and Brian doesn't push it much, and I don't know why, but it's something that we talked about. He and I talked about maybe looking into pushing more, and that's on the website under his name and under my name. There's an option to leave us a voicemail. I think you can leave like a 5-minute recording. Share an encounter. I mean, coming on these shows isn't for everyone. People don't like to come on and talk to others and have their face on or their voice or just have questions asked to them. Just some people just they're not comfortable doing that. So if you would rather share it that way, go to the website, go under either his name for Sasquatch, mine for this show, Paranormal Odyssey, and leave us a voicemail. If you need to go more than 5 minutes in that one, click it again, start right back up where you left off. It don't matter how many times it takes. It'll come straight to me, and put some shows together with some encounters that way. Just another option for you guys. I'm probably going to start pushing that a little more. All right. Already taking too much time before getting into this one. This one is creepy. This one is called The Devil's Chair of Cassadaga, Florida. I'm actually going to do something a little different on this one. Instead of looking at my beautiful face, which, I mean, let's be honest, y'all aren't complaining. But instead of looking at me, I'm going to pop up the actual devil's chair that they're talking about in Cassadaga, Florida. Would you guys be looking at that? Actually, I don't want to say 100% that this is the one, but it's the one associated with the website that I'm going to be reading from today, which is usghostadventures.com. They get the credit for putting this one together. Did a really good job. But this is the picture that they're sharing, so I'm assuming that this is it. The term devil's chair, sometimes referred to by a less demonic term such as haunted chair, is part of the folklore found in numerous places around America. It is frequently attached to a kind of funerary or memorial sculpture, typical in the United States during the 19th century, when graveyards and cemeteries sometimes included carved chairs for the comfort of visitors. In the Victorian era, cemeteries were often laid out like parks, and people would picnic in them. Part of this park-like mystique was functional ornament. I'm sorry. Let me just start over. Part of this park-like mystique was functional ornamentation, such as chairs and benches, often known as a mourning chair. And cemeteries have since provided benches for visitors. In reality, some carved chairs were probably not intended for use as anything but monuments. Once the original purpose of these chairs fell out of fashion, superstitions developed in association with the act of sitting in them. In a typical example, seen as a rite of passage, local young people would dare one another to visit the site, most often after dark, at midnight, or on some specified night, such as Halloween or New Year's Eve. Variously, and stories suggest a person brave enough to sit in the chair at such a time may be punished for impudence or rewarded for courage. Out of this tradition, any nearly forgotten stone bench or chair would enter the vernacular as the devil's chair. Nowhere is more synonymous with having a devil's chair than in Cassadaga, Florida. This is indeed appropriate. Just 35 miles north of Orlando lies the small town of Cassadaga. The architecture in Cassadaga has remained mostly unchanged since it was first settled in the 1800s, leading the community to be added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1991. With a population of only 3,000, this area is known for its abundance of psychic mediums and haunted houses. Of course, Florida is steeped in conservative Bible traditions, so this place is a bit countercultural to Southern Baptists. The Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp is a direct affront or traditional Protestantism founded in 1895 by spiritualist George Colby, cemented the town as a mecca of spiritualism and psychic mediumship. The town is often called the psychic center of the world. This town is also home of the haunted Cassadaga Cemetery, in which resides the most famous of all devil's chairs. It is an oversized stone chair that is said to summon the devil himself when visitors take a seat. What makes this area such a haven for spiritualism and hauntings? Cassadaga is said to sit on a vortex, a point of concentrated psychic energy. The vortex is natural, but other vortices in the area are man-made, created by the psychic activity that the town is known for. Other vortices are said to exist at sites like Stonehenge and the location of the pyramids at Gaza. It is within this vortex that the cemetery lies. The gravestones at the Cassadaga Cemetery date back to the 1800s, though vandals have tipped over many headstones. The cemetery mainly consists of those who were residents of Lake Helen in Cassadaga. George P. Colby is among those who are buried here. And of course, within this vortex sits a large, menacing red brick bench known as the Devil's Chair. Many say that the devil himself speaks to you when you sit in the chair, and some report hearing voices in their head when seated. Others say the devil outright appears to those who sit in the chair. The best known legend of the devil's chair is that if one leaves a can of unopened beer on the bench, one can find it empty the next morning, but still unopened. Other versions of the story claim that the can is completely gone or found open in the morning. However, there is a tale about a young man who was dared to sit in the chair at midnight on All Hallows Eve. His friends watched him walking into the cemetery, winding his way between the headstones and making his way to the devil's chair before he faced into the darkness of the night. Before he faded into the darkness of the night. That was the last he was ever seen. It seems he found his way to the chair and had a seat as the clock struck midnight. After that, he simply disappeared. Some say Satan himself appeared and dragged the young man kicking and screaming to hell. Others say he was a victim of the vortex swallowed up by the forces of the earth. The truth may lie somewhere in the middle, but that somewhere is terrifying to comprehend. But some people thrive on fear. They seek that sudden rush of adrenaline and find the icy grip of terror amusing and strangely life-affirming. To this day, the cemetery attracts many nearby ghost hunters and rebellious teenagers looking for a thrill, many of whom vandalize the cemetery and graves, especially on Halloween. The cemetery has a nighttime security guard posted on Halloween to keep intruders away. Some of the mediums and psychics of Cassadaga are known to block the road to the cemetery on Halloween as they attempt to contact the dead. But the devil's chair sits ever within the cemetery, a hulking, silent ornament awaiting someone to have a seat. Like a siren, it calls. Do you dare listen? Again, guys, that one came to from usghostadventures.com. And it's got me, reading this one got me curious about other devil chairs. So I wanted to add a little bit to this one. I was able to find some other. In Iowa, the Devil's Chair in Guthrie Center, Iowa, is a cement cast located in Union City, situated between two graves and unmarked as belonging to either. Local legend claims that bad luck will follow anyone who sits in it. While the cemetery itself was established as a private burial ground in 1885, the legend of the chair is only documented for approximately 30 years. And this one in Missouri, I got a picture of it. I'm going to pull it up. That's just a creepy looking chair. This one is in Missouri. Devil's Chair, or Bayard Chair, as it is officially named in the Highland Park Cemetery of Kirksville, Missouri, was first placed in the cemetery by Charles Grassel and David Baird when David's wife, Anna Maria Baird, died in 1911. It has become involved in numerous legends of a type widely replicated across the U.S., especially in the rural and small town communities, and beloved of young people. Some versions say that something dreadful will happen to a person so bold as to be seated in it at midnight or on a particular evening, such as Halloween. A hand will emerge from the grave and drag the impious one down to the underworld. I hate these words I'm not familiar with. Sorry about that. Other versions suggest the intrepid one will be rewarded. The chair itself was sculpted out of concrete by Charles Grassel of the Baird and Grassel Granite Work of Kirksville, Missouri, and placed as a memorial for Anna in 1911. 1 year later, David Baird died and was buried beside Anna. This chair acts as their grave marker. In Ohio, the Duncan ornament in Fletcher Cemetery, Fletcher, Ohio, appears to be a carved headstone rather than a mourning chair intended for use by cemetery visitors. Vermont, the empty chair. In Hope Cemetery, Bear, Vermont, is actually a sculpted gravestone rather than being intended as a seat. However, the usual legends have grown up all around it. And lastly, in Georgia, the Bonaventure Cemetery, located in Savannah, Georgia, the grave of famed music writer Johnny Mercer is formed in the style of one of these seats. Interestingly, contrary to other similar markers, Mercer's marker has writings and quotes on it and serves more as a tombstone than a mourning chair. All right. Another one that I was not familiar with. I've seen these chairs in cemeteries, before going to visit people. I did not know that they had any kind of special meaning or were developed for anything like that. So that's cool. You guys know anything about them? Want to add anything? Again, shoot me an email, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com. All right. I want to remind everybody about the 2 episodes that I release for Paranormal Odyssey each week, Wednesday and Sunday. Also want to remind you about Paranormal Odyssey Live, which can be found right here where you're at right now, every Friday night at 7:30 Eastern. Please hit that subscribe button if you have not done so. We're getting up there close to 2,000. We're creeping up on it. So let's just go ahead and hit that mark. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Got to get ready for the show tonight and all of that good stuff. Guys, please be good to each other. Be good to yourselves.